There we go.
Good evening and welcome to All for United WFC with me, Matt Crane. We are on our Tuesday night show. Different guest tonight. Benny, this is your second ever show with us.
I think it is, mate.
To the show. I know, and obviously back with Anthony. So, Anthony, how are we doing, pal? I know you've just
I'm good, thanks.
There.
Yeah,
just good stuff.
I'll make some rice in the 30-second countdown.
Indigestion's coming then. Benny, how are you keeping?
Nah. I'm all right, mate. I'm trying not to laugh too much because Anthony's there scoffing in the backstage. You finished, Anthony? Oh, yeah, I finished. We're still going on during countdown.
Could you see it?
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's all right. We'll let you off, dear me. Honestly, never a dull moment. So, tonight's show then, we're going to be sort of reviewing the sort of season as a whole, break down sort of positions. We're going to talk about where you guys think we need to strengthen, positions, any names you want to give. Sort of plans going forward now, and obviously Anthony, I'll ask you sort of, what me and Benny touched on last week about, would we strengthen sort of off the pitch in terms of staff. So we'll get straight into it then. Obviously we finished fourth, so I think what we'll do is we'll start obviously position by position. So I'll start with you, Anthony, first then. So the defence as a whole this season, obviously, there's been talk, since January onwards, we were very wobbly. However, if you look at sort of stats and records, it actually pretty much stands up more or less identical to the 3 quarters of last season we got. And, not far off the first season. So how would you sort of rate it in general? I mean, you don't sort of have to give individual ratings, but maybe collectively and sort of talk about our defence in compared to season 1 and season 2.
Yeah, well, obviously Una came in and got player of the season. We all know she was brilliant. That was definitely someone we needed on the right or left back. She can play as well, and that definitely improved the squad. Amy Turner, I think she improved massively. It could have been different. But no, Amy improved a lot. When you go to Millie had her moments. She could be brilliant sometimes, and then lapse in concentration, which led to goals. The one I can remember is the one against Chelsea, where you would have thought she would have headed that, and it went over her head totally, and I can't remember who scored it, and then obviously Kirsty Smith was our main one that got, and then she did a job. I can't complain too much. The only thing I would say is obviously Harris didn't get a chance. The only thing I would say from January when we brought Maria in, I think the amount of time she played, it must have been Abby's choice that she wanted to go out and play more football, because I can't see why we brought Maria in for Abby, because she hardly played. And then, unfortunately, against Leicester, we all know how that ended. Just a simple pass back, and that was... But overall, I would say the defence, I would say about 7 probably out of 10, I think, with Battier there. It definitely hiked it up. If we're talking about Mary as a defender, I know you went straight to defender, but if you're counting her as a defensive, I think the problem is she gets too comfortable. I think she might have realised that Casey trusts her, and she has saved us and made some brilliant saves. But we need, when you're talking about, I don't want to go too much into it because we're going to go on about squad overall and that, but I think when you look at it, she definitely needs competition. And Casey, when she was at the club, clearly didn't trust Ramsey or Bentley. You would, even against Burnley, you would think against Burnley, yeah, I know Ramsey was on loan, but why not give Bentley the 90 minutes? And she didn't even get the 90 minutes, so that's my view on the defence and keeper.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just looking now in the comments. John Fry 6.5/7. If anybody else has got any ratings, as a collective, rather than sort of individuals, then by all means, put them in. Good evening as well, Marcus. Obviously, John's in the comments as well. A few other people, so good to see you all. But Ben, I mean, we may as well chuck the keeper in as well, whilst that's part of the back. And obviously, like Anthony said, we've only really seen Mary, haven't we? The Rambo was Conti Cup in the shootout win against City, did okay. Fran came on, was it 20 minutes, maybe 30 against Burnley? Didn't get much anyway, but Mary's been the main thing. But just what are your thoughts then? Because obviously looking at, our sort of defensive unit, including Mary kept 10 clean sheets, I think in 22 games. That was just league. So which for the league was third best, which tells a completely different story to what we all saw as fans in terms of defence. So what was your thoughts then? I mean, like I say, maybe if you want to compare season 1, 2 and 3, or season 2, or what we had of it, to season 3.
I think we started off strongly, in the first half of the season, and I think I said it before, though. It came to after the winter break. We all seemed to fall apart. I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was a mental thing or a physical thing, or whether we just hit that sort of barrier, and that mental wall. We're just huffing and puffing, and we're mentally a little bit tired because it's been I don't know. I think the first half of this season was definitely better than last season's, if that makes any sense. What we got of it, I think anyway. I think we looked a lot more solid at the back, and I think between the goalkeeper and the two centre halves, there was a lot more communication, a lot more trust, and a lot more solidity at the back. But I don't know what it was after Christmas. It seems that after Christmas break into January, and this seems to be a problem of ours, that after we come back off our winter break, we never seem to be that same team. It seems to take us a bit of time to start getting rolling again, But this season, for me, it's your key players that let you down at times. The ones that you think, they're always solid. They never make too many mistakes, but the mistakes creeping in left, right, and centre. I think we gifted teams goals at times. The City game was absolutely abysmal at the mini council house. It was absolutely abysmal there. We brought in Maria Torrestotti. I hope I'm pronouncing the second name right. And for me, she doesn't look all that. She's not really hit the ground running at the minute. She was one of the reasons why we conceded one of the goals at City, turning your back on a shot instead of going charging it down. It's just absolute. It's just not good enough defending for a Manchester United player. But I hope we do improve next season. It's a big area we need to improve next season. All right, owner was quality, absolutely quality this season. You can't take anything away from her. Millie and Amy, first half of the season, solid as a rock. Second half, a little bit more shaky. But I expect that to be for next season to be rectified. I think both of them will get their heads down and work hard to make sure it doesn't happen again. Kirsty Smith was all right. I think injuries again just derailed the season a little bit. And Martha as well, injuries just derailed the season completely. To be fair, she was back for a game and then out again for another few games, and it just didn't really happen for her. But I expect it to be a much improved defence next season. Whether I'm assuming we will bring a couple of additions in, decent additions in as well. I think what it is, it does prove that maybe we overplay our players at times. Like Millie, I think she's played near enough every single game again this season. I think we need to have some decent backups so they can have a rest at times. I think we might be in danger of overplaying our players a little bit, and then and that tiredness that they may not display it, emotionally or anything, or their body language might be all right, but physically, I think just start tiring out too soon, and that's how mistakes crept in. if I was to give an overall marking, I'll probably say 6 out of 10. Solid 6 out of 10 this season for the defence. Mary Earpsey said has been brilliant. I think she gets too much. I don't know why she gets too much. Why she gets flack from some people. What did you say? Third top clean sheet.
Yeah. So and Katrina Berger was top. Ellie Roebuck
record there for this season. Can't ask more from that, especially when the other two are from tops. The other two top sides, I suppose. One being the City keeper. I'm guessing it'd be the Chelsea keeper.
Yeah.
So you can't ask for any more than that from your goalkeeper. I think Emily Ramsey and Fran Bentley both need a long season out on loan, both of them, to get first team football, to improve themselves, to learn the game. I think that they both need to go out on loan and benefit from a good loan. So we might need to bring a decent goalkeeper in of decent experience that's back up to Mary at first, but then can hopefully push Mary on to the next level as well. So, that's about all I've got to say for the defence, really.
Yeah, I think we'll obviously, like Anthony said, we'll get onto positions. But it's interesting because, obviously, I agree with Vix, don't defend well as a unit. Obviously, you mentioned about tiredness break, and John Fry says as well, similar, physically tired. But for me, it's interesting because if you look at that, barring owner, that's the same pretty much back four. Apart from her, you've got the two Turners playing most of the season together, and then Smithy and Martha, when fit, were usually at fullback. So it is quite surprising that, considering that's been the back four for pretty much 3 years, barring one player, it's quite weird, isn't it, how after January last year we collapsed and the same this. Obviously, it's a better league than the Championship, so we'll focus on sort of this year and last year, but it does make you wonder, doesn't it? And whether it's a mental thing as well. Physically is one thing, but mentally, and I think something you just mentioned, Anthony, to me was about the crowd. Now, do you think, obviously, like I say, that the mental boost that fans can give, do you think that maybe played a part in the wobbly? Because maybe when, players talk about that lift from the crowd and that 12th player, with fans missing, do you reckon that could maybe be a factor in, the performance? I mean, I don't want to solely blame it on, no fans being in there for mistakes, but sometimes, when you are down and you need that bit of something, you might sort of take inspiration from the crowd. So where do you stand on that then?
It's a strange one, isn't it? Having the crowd there can help with certain stuff. Like you might, without the crowd, they're a bit more relaxed, which brings in the stakes. Whereas if we were there, we'd be going, player on, man on.
Yeah, you're on the back.
Yeah, and they're kind of thinking, oh, well, yeah, let's just do the basic.
Yeah.
There's no crowd there, if I make a mistake, then, I don't want to make a mistake, head down, but you're not going to have the crowd. I know it's a bit different to the men, slightly, with the crowd and that, but if we were in Lee, you know what I'm like. I was bad enough when we saw the goal on our phones, but in the stadium, I'd have been like, "Oh, why did you don't get rid of it more?" I'd have been like, "Oh," and I've said schoolboy defending. So, but like you said, everyone's been in the same position. They've not had crowds, so other than them might be in a bit more on edge and safety first, I think other than that, it probably doesn't help too much. Just the relaxation part, I would say.
Yeah. Ben, sort of what are your thoughts on that then? Because, Anthony talks about it. And like we say, it shouldn't be an excuse. However, sometimes, like you said, we might go a goal down and we'd be there, like, obviously, egging them on and encouraging, rather than getting on backs like some sort of clubs or fans do, or it happens in the men's game, people slate them, but just to sort of G them up and lift them, maybe, like I say, after a mistake or a goal. What are your thoughts?
I have to agree with that, to be fair, mate. I think the whole team, could have benefited from us, especially second half of the season, but we seem to be like, just not playing at our best, I think a lot of let's be fair though, a lot of the teams that come to LSV, or even when we go away from home, start getting intimidated by the atmosphere that we create, you know. And I know rival fans sometimes try and play that off and say, oh, no, we don't. But you can just see it in some of the players, especially with behind the goal and the opposition goalkeepers. You know, how many of them have complained over the last few years, you know, about the noise that we make, and you know, they complain to referees, they complain to officials, they complain to whoever they could complain to, you know. So I think that is definitely a factor, mate. You know, and as Anthony said, you know, the defence, you know, maybe wouldn't be something like us if they heard like a shout of a man on, or, you know, player on your shoulder, or get rid, you know, anything like that, you know, just to sort of keep them on the toes, basically.
Yeah.
I just think that, you know, I think all football struggle this season at all levels, you know, without fans. And I think you've seen it now over the last few weeks when in the men's game, where the fans have come back, and it's made a hell of a lot of difference, even if it's just like 10 to 20,000, depending on what stadium you're in. You know, that then they make a difference. You know, the playoff finals have been absolutely brilliant, I think, with the fans this season, you know, towards the back end of this season. And it really does help me. It really does, you know. So hopefully next season we could all, right from the start, we could all go back, and hopefully it'll be that extra little lift that the players need. But I definitely agree with Anthony, though. I think it has made a big difference this season not having us there.
Yeah, I think, like I say, it's an interesting point. I think the two games that stick out for me was the Villa game when the keeper moaned to the ref, and the Arsenal game when the keeper complained as well. It just shows, doesn't it? But again, like I said, you know, it's not sort of looking for an excuse, but it's just that, like I said, I found it interesting because obviously, you know, the last season, obviously we only got 14 games and we conceded 12. So it's pretty much more or less a goal a game. Obviously then we sort of, you know, we move on to this season, again come fourth and conceded 20 and 22. So for me, you know, the records are pretty much similar. You know, it's more or less a goal a game. Obviously, sometimes we did concede more, but it does make you think, you know, I mentioned Mary being third highest in the league on clean sheets. Now she kept 2 less than Ellie Roebuck. Ellie Roebuck kept 12 clean sheets. And Man City were, you know, runners-up. So it just shows, I think, had we maybe had a less leaky defence and a couple more, I think Vic said it, you know, further up competition for places, you know, then we might have seen us, you know, drag ourselves despite, you know, a terrible finish to the season, drag ourselves into that third spot. Obviously, it came down to, you know, a point and very big goal difference. So if you like, 2 points. But just shows, doesn't it, that it's very, very fine margins. I mean, we know this anyway in football, but the difference between a Champions League season and not, ultimately. I'm going to move on then to midfield, and I'll start with you, Ben, on this. Our midfield then collectively. If you want to just talk about that, you know, if you want to shout out individuals, that's fine. But just, and then finish again with an overall sort of rating out of 10 collectively.
Midfield's been a strange one for me, really. Again, we've had key players at times in and out of the team through injury, suspensions, illnesses, whatever it may be. It's been I don't know. It's been a difficult one, really. I think Jackie's probably been probably having her best season, mate. Really came to the boil this season. A lot different to her first season. I think it took a season to fit in, but this season we've definitely seen the best of Jackie Cronin. And it's a credit to her, you know what I mean? Because I thought the first season I was like, I get the fuss a little bit, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing what the player that I expect to see. But this season, credit to herself, man. She's got her head down. She's worked hard. And a Hayley Ladd as well. Hayley Ladd, I mean, I think she's the most underrated player in this whole team. Take her out of that midfield. That midfield was weak as oak for me.
Yeah.
You know, people start walking through it like it's custard. You know, I think with Hayley, you know, I've said it before. She likes to get she puts her head in where it hurts. She likes to put her foot into any challenge that she can get. She doesn't shirk a challenge. And I think that's what you need. You need somebody that'll do the excuse my language, shithousery. You know, the dark side of football. You know, and she does it. And then when we lost her through injury, Jackie, to her credit, man, was trying her very best to do it, and I thought she applied herself quite well. But then we lost Jackie a little bit further up where we like to see Jackie. We lost her in the attacking third, linking up play, like where she's the most dangerous. But for me, I'm assuming that we're talking midfield. We're talking the central players. We're talking the wide players, or we're leaving the wide players.
Well, just as a collective, pal. So obviously, central and wide. Really, I just thought it was better to rate them collectively rather than.
I just wanted to make sure because I was going to rate the central and leave the wide players to the attack. But...
put the wide players in with the midfield, pal.
Right, put the right. That's what I thought.
We'll do it that way.
No worries, pal. Losing Leah Golden was the big thing, though. It was the big thing. I think she's been the biggest miss of the season. I know a lot of people disagree and say it'd be Tobin Heath, but when you lose your best player the calendar year of 2020, it's always going to be a tough ask to get us moving forward into the attacking thirds. Ella Toon, got to talk about Tooney. You could probably put her in the attacking lot as well, but I'm going to include her in the midfield chunk because
as well.
I might as well because she's not an out-and-out centre forward, is she? So I'm going to include her in the midfield chunk. So I think she's been the most improved player. And people are going to say, "Oh, improved player." How do you mean, Ben? That's usually something you say to kids, or the most improved player, or what is such and such, just to make you feel better. But what I mean by improved is that she's come on a hell of a lot. We've seen her in the championship. She was decent in the championship. You know what I mean? Second season of WSL was a bit of a learning experience for her, But this season, my God, has she come flying out the blocks and really, really took the team by the scruff of the neck. She's the one that's been leading us forward. She's the one that's been our brightest light that shone, especially in attacking sense. Her and Ona, honestly, mate, it was that close for me between who got player of the season. Obviously, I went for Ona like everybody else, but Tooney wasn't all that far behind. It was neck and neck for a long time for me. We have to give credit to Tooney. I think that the reason why I wanted to say including the midfield, so I'd give her a special shout out because I think it's a little bit unfair to put her up as a centre forward. She should play centre forward.
Yeah.
So I have to include her in the midfield. Hansen's done all right when she's come in. As I said, she's still learning, still improving, still got a little bit to go. She knows that. But what I will say about Hansen, everybody else is on their jollies, on a holiday, chilling out. What's Kirsty Hansen doing? She's hitting the training field already. Getting her speed up. She's working on the speed by the looks of it. She's at Loughborough University, I believe it is.
Yeah,
down at Loughborough, she's working on speed and everything. So you've got to, give her that, mate. She might not be there as a complete player yet, but she's down as the hardest working one for me. Nobody comes anywhere close to her. But yeah, the midfield as a whole, mate, I think they've done all right. We've had injuries, we've had players off illnesses. We didn't get Staniforth to the last half of the season, really, did we? To be fair, she was suspended at the start, injured for most of it, but I think she came into her own towards the end as well, which is a bit of a shame because I think if we had another 5-10 games on top of that, you'd have probably seen her really motoring at her best. So, but just to keep this down, so I'm not dragging it on too long, so I need to get his thoughts. And I'm going to go for a 7.5 out of 10 for the midfield, man. They were decent. Yeah. They were decent. Just the injuries just kept the rate down a little bit lower for me.
Yeah. No, I'd say that's fair, to be fair. I agree. I think you look at, overall, what we ended up with, Tooney was top scorer. Second top scorer was Hansen. I think, did she have 7 goals overall? And Tooney had 10. Tooney had 5 assists, and I think Hansen had 3. So, improvement from both players there. And obviously, you talked about Kirsty sort of working at Loughborough Uni. I think Alessia was back in today as well, and Tara Bourne as well. But Anthony, where do you see midfield then? Because this, has it gone now? It was further up from Vix. There's a comment about consequences for poor performances. And you knew you wouldn't get dropped. Obviously, sort of would you agree with that? Obviously, don't out and name players, but just certain. I mean, that could be collectively. To be fair, that could be all over the pitch, not just midfield. But would you sort of agree? I mean, I know I would. Like I say, all over the pitch. As a collective, there was times when people maybe, needed a break. But what are your sort of thoughts on that then, and the midfield as a whole?
Yeah, no, I think I would agree with Vicky. Maybe a lot of it was to do with injury and that, but it's a tough one, really. Millet. Sorry, I'm not going to name drop people. We talk about centre backs and that, and about someone who's she could have done with a rest, perhaps, but it's a trust thing, isn't it? Yeah. I know Casey always said, I put a team out, and whatever team she puts out, she trusts that they can do the job.
Yeah.
But you feel like sometimes that trust, she's saying it, but you feel like it's not always, you take it with a pinch of salt, you think, yeah, she's saying that just to keep everyone happy. But
see what you mean. She trusted players to go out and perform, and maybe some weeks some didn't. I think that's what you.
Yeah,
is that what you mean? Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I know we have certain players and certain fan favourites. We won't mention names. That we think, why are you not getting dropped? We won't mention names, but
there was comments though, wasn't there? Like you say, some people were dropped, and you thought, like you say, why? But yeah.
Well, Hayley, before she got injured, she was on the bench, wasn't she?
Jackie a couple of times as well towards the end.
Jackie towards the end, but Casey outed that as resting her. Maybe she had a knock on that. But with the midfield and that, like Vicky said in one of the other comments, it was very much season of two halves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the injuries didn't help. Like Benny said, Leah Galton was a massive miss. I'm sort of on the edge, though, whether she was the biggest miss between her and Tobin.
Yeah.
I can see where Benny's coming from. But then Tobin, I know with Leah, she'll beat her defender in that. And when she did come back, her match fitness was, I think it showed. I don't think she was quite up to pace.
Mm.
But with Tobin, she brought that experience. And I feel like that her experience drove people that little bit more. And they learnt that little more. Yeah. I think players, you can see like players like Tony definitely benefited from that. It's you know what it's like getting. You want to learn, don't you? And if you're getting taught by the best players potentially in the world, or certainly for USA, then it's always going to be a big help. So definitely Tobin and Leah. I think if they hadn't got injured, we would be talking Champions League football next season. Yeah. With the central midfield, other than obviously you did have like illness with COVID and suspension and that, so. At times, we didn't have a settled midfield. I think Jackie was probably our mainstay. And then with people like Zellum, once they were out for a bit, obviously because of COVID with Dubai Gate and that. But I think once she got back to fitness, she was pretty much one of the first in Casey's mind, which... I don't know if we agree. I think I think there definitely had to be a bit more rotation. I think,
Yeah,
like Benny said, when Lucy Stan did play, I thought she was really coming into it in the towards the end of the season. The worry, and we'll probably hit this more when we go to the strike forces, the goals, and I'm sure I'll wait until we get later in to talk about goals and that and certain situations. But am I right thinking we actually got more goals from midfield than up front? Which
I would say, I mean, without checking it, I would say yes, just based on Tooney's 10 and Hansen's 7. That's 17. Obviously, Alessia was injured.
Golden 6 as well.
Yeah, even Leah.
In that case, yeah, Leah Golden. I'd be comfortable saying yes because, like I say, depending on whether you class Tobin as a wide player or a forward, I think she got forward as well. So, yeah, definitely, probably did. The midfield must have outscored the forwards.
I was in two minds whether they classed Tobin as a forward, but it was a mixture, weren't it? She was on the right, I suppose, part of a three. Yeah. So you could have her in both positions. A bit, it's not quite like Tooney, where I'd agree with Ben. She's not a centre forward,
midfielder. Yeah,
exactly. And then obviously Kirsty Hansen. You know what you're going to get with Kirsty. She's always going to work her socks off. She might not be technically the best, but she makes up for that with her work rate and that. And she will try and take on the defender and get a corner in, which is where we did struggle a bit sometimes in the season. If I had to rate the midfield as a whole, I would agree with you two. I would say 7.5.
7.5. Yeah, okay. We'll quickly whiz through the strikers because I'm cautious of time and moving on. So, Anthony, we'll stick with you then. Obviously, Alessia got injured and missed pretty much most of the season. So, I think was it around November. And then we sort of had Jess, Jane and Press. So, do you want to just, like I say, just briefly, we'll quickly whiz through them as well.
Okay. Yeah, obviously, Russo started brilliantly, scoring goals, all types of goals, and then unfortunately she got her injury, and that's another factor we severely missed. You have people like Lauren James. She was in and out, injury and that, and if you know Lauren, if she stays fit, she makes a lot of difference. You only have to see a goal against Chelsea for that. But I feel it severely hampered her season. There's talks of her going to Chelsea, which is probably likely. But we didn't really miss her too much last season. I don't know if it's because of injuries and that. But when she did play, I was always like, she can. She's one of them players, isn't it? Like, she can do nothing all game, but then have that one moment of brilliance. So it's hard because it's doing it. You need it in the right moment, don't you? We need the moments where we're 1-1 and we'd be happy with a draw, but then that bit of brilliance wins us the game, which, like I said, with injuries and that, it just didn't happen. Then you've got Jess and Jane Ross. They didn't, to me, they didn't really have too much opportunities. And like I said with Kirsty, we know what Jess is going to give you. She's going to give you the work rate. She's good with her head. One of the better ones knows where to be, which a lot of the time you think, if only they would have easy tapping, and you, from experience and that. Jane Ross is. I've said this before and I know hindsight's a brilliant thing, but I do think regarding Jane Ross, we brought her in from West Ham. I don't know how many goals she scored for West Ham in that, but you do look and you think, well, we brought her in. Obviously, Ebony must have wanted to go to play, but when you look overall, the 2 seasons or 1.5 seasons you do think, why didn't Casey give Ebony a chance? Because I definitely feel that Ebony would have scored more. Towards the end as well, she started playing Janie a bit deeper, didn't she? And sometimes she played her out on the wide, which she did all right sometimes. But as a striker, your job's to score the goals. And I feel like this is it. I was going to say, I spoke to you the other week, Craney, about this United magazine I bought, and we scored 53 goals this season, 6 goals more than last season.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the league. Yes, I think that was in the league, but then we can't score that many more. So in the league, actually, no, it was 49. 51.
I was going to say it was 40s, yeah, 40 something.
51 in the league. That's 18 less than Chelsea. That's about 16 less than City. If we had the strikers like Sam Kerr and Pernilla Harder, and even someone like Beth England, that's another reason why I feel like we didn't get Champions League.
Yeah.
I just feel like the squad we had, the strikers we had, other than Russo, who obviously got injured, and maybe if you can count Tobin, who obviously got injured, I feel like they'd gone as far as they could. We need to get these world-class clinical strikers. So we definitely need. Obviously, we're going to go to squad overhaul, aren't we? But
yeah,
with strikers rating, it's a difficult one with all the injuries and the chances. We got John Fry puts 5.5. I'd probably go 5.56.
Yeah. Okay, Benny, do you want to sort of round up, and then, like I say, we'll move on to sort of transfers and where you both feel that we both need to strengthen?
As soon as you lost Leslie, mate, the attack just petered out and was struggling. Press did little to impress me up there. For someone that came with big international quality, everything. People were saying, well, we're not playing in the right position and stuff like that. But Jess should have got more of an opportunity for me. Jess Sigsworth, I think, if you're looking for goals, maybe we should have entrusted her a little bit more than what we did this season. Jane's just Jane, innit? For me, I would have quick just ran up. Not good enough this season. As soon as Leslie got injured, not good enough. 4 out of 10, it's been poor. Really, really poor. Yeah. You know, your midfielders have dug you out all season with goals. And that says it all, really.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summarised it well. Like you say, I think there's not too much to say. Obviously, massively missed Alessia. Didn't really have too much after that. I think for me, you know, I know you mentioned about press, but I think it came, what should we say, probably the last 3 games maybe. Her form really, for me, I think the Old Trafford goal did her some good. And then after that, she was pretty decent, I thought, last few games. But it was one of them where we maybe needed it, like you said, sort of January, especially when we needed to sort of, you know, look to those type players to dig us out. But yeah, I think I'm going to sit in the middle, and I'm going to go 5. I think you know, like you say, we had injuries, but yet we had players capable of scoring goals, and you know, at the end of the day, we missed chances. And like Vic said, you know, we finished with goals miles behind even Arsenal, who were above us. You know, I think Everton only scored something like 3 less than us.
Yeah.
And their team compared to ours when ours was fully fit is no comparison. It's absolutely woeful compared to ours. So I think there's a lot to do, which brings us on nicely to the next part then. And I'll stick with you, Ben, for this. Transfers then. Do you feel that we need a big overhaul? Yes or no? And then do you want to give positions where you think we need to sign player-wise?
All I've been hearing is about there's going to be loads going out and some coming in. Big overall, possibly, mate. Yeah, I'd possibly say it. All depends on who's staying and who's going. We yet to know that.
I mean, if we base it off the rumours of 6 to 10, I think that's what I've been reading the most of.
If it's between 6 to 10, then that is a major overhaul, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think all over the place, mate. We need to position, strengthen every position for me. Goalkeeper, backup, a strong backup to Mary Earps. Let Rambo and as I said before, let Rambo and let Bentley go out on a season-long loan when they can learn the game a bit more, get first-team football regularly, hopefully. I think the defence definitely needs a couple more additions in there. I think we need another centre half and at least another wing back, another full back on the opposite side to Owner. I think we need to upgrade there. Midfield, all over midfield, really. I think we need another defensive midfield player, because if Haley Lad gets injured or whatever, we need someone in there that can step into her shoes to do a job without having to sacrifice someone like Jackie and lose what she gives to our team in the attacking third. I think definitely, possibly. I think the Americans have gone anyway, so you probably need another winger, and you definitely need more centre forwards. Probably 2 more, if I'm being brutally honest.
I'd agree.
Let's see, and then we need another one that can hit the onion bag without even thinking about it. So it's like second nature, and another. I think definitely another one, because I think Jane will probably. I think there's links to her going, so I think you need another one in there. I'm not sure what's happening with Jess, so you need probably another couple of strikers in there as well. But yeah, because we've been saying it for ages, haven't we? We need two. We need 2 players for every position, 2 decent players for every position.
Yeah.
So we need to be strengthening as much as we can. And also, like I said before, a couple of weeks ago, I think it's also depending on when this new manager comes in or gets announced, and that one of them players that you might be thinking is on the out list, you might go, well, no, actually, I fancy this player. I want to give this player another shot. I'm going to coach this player. I think there's potential in this player. So you can't write off maybe one of the 2 of them maybe staying, depending on which coach comes in, depending on the timing of the coach. Because if a coach doesn't come in and the release letters out there, and the players have gone and got themselves on the teams, and fair play.
Yeah.
But, every position for me, mate, to be fair. I don't know what Anthony thinks, but for me, every position is strengthening this summer if we can.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the comments now. I know John Fry's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. John Fry's got a good 9 there. I think I'd said prior to Casey leaving, I think I said 7/8, but I think I'm looking at my list now and I've got 8. But I'll let you sort of have a chat, Anthony. I don't know if you want to chuck any names out there that you may fancy. Obviously, I think everyone's forgetting Fuso. She has been injured. She is an attacking player, so it's going to be a big season for her. 1, to stay fit, and 2, to see what she can offer potential wise. But I'll let you sort of give your thoughts, Anthony. And like I say, if you've got any names, by all means, chuck them out there.
Yeah, you say we forgot about Fuso. To be fair, I forgot to talk about Press. And like you said, Cronin, she came to what we have expected of her a bit too late, doesn't she? Yeah. 3 to 4 games towards the end. And if, like you said, when Tobin did get injured, and that if she had taken over from Tobin, then it might have been a different story.
Absolutely.
Regarding player overhaul, yeah, I agree with Benny. We see the rumours, 6 to 10 players. So they're players that you need to replace.
Yeah.
But don't want to just replace the men with anyone. We want to improve the squad, like Lauren James and Beth England are two very different players, but we know Beth England can hit the net, so someone like her would be good up front. I know we've discussed it before, but we were linked with Natasha Flint, weren't we?
I can't see that happening, being honest.
And no offence, I don't think she would get us any further. I don't feel she's any better than what we've got. Obviously, like I said last time, Cronin, you've obviously seen her play, so you know what she's all about. But the Championship's a very different level to the WSL. So with that, we do need at least two strikers. We could do with, obviously, Fuso, if she can stay fit. Russo will be like having a new striker.
Yeah.
Then, obviously, we do need that experience up front. Obviously, the Americans have gone. So with the wings, we need to bring in some more quality. I don't think, if I'm being honest, I don't think we're going to get anyone in at quite that stature. Could be wrong. You never know. Whoever the manager is, the players could really like the new manager, know good things about them, and that could be a pulling power. Then we go on to defence. Does Amy Turner stay? I hope she does. And that, obviously, she might fancy America because that's where her fiance is. So, obviously, if she goes, then we do need replacement for her. I would say, looking at the centre backs, even if Amy does stay, I would say we need another top quality centre back to give competition to them. I think that's the problem with Millie. I think she got too comfortable. There wasn't competition. Like, if she had 3 bad games, was Casey going to drop her? And I reckon the answer is no. Then, obviously, we got Honor. But with Smith and Harris, Smith does a job. Harris, it's another one, isn't it? To go further, I think we need to be getting someone in slightly better. And then you go to the goalie. Like I said before, there's no competition for her. She's too comfortable. We talk about of getting an experienced keeper and that, and I'm not sure who's at that scale, who would be experienced, but would start on the bench. But you've got the PSG keeper. I feel like if you sign someone like her, then Mary would have to fight to be number one. But this is another name I'm going to shout out, and she's not experienced, but she's done well. And I don't know if she has signed for anyone or not yet, but the Bristol City goalkeeper, Sophie Bagley.
Yeah.
The few times I saw her play, most notably when I went to the Reading game against Bristol City, she was outstanding.
Yeah, I remember we had a conversation, didn't we, on her?
Yeah. If it wasn't for her, Reading would have won that game about 5-1. And I know you can't judge it on one game, but I feel like she could potentially push Mary a bit more than the other two. Obviously, with Ramsey and Bentley, like Ben says, they need a long season loan to get to maybe pushing Mary, but they definitely all round, especially the goalkeeper and defence, need competition.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think it's interesting because I'm looking at this comment here. It's not easy to sign 8 good players. And I think for me, we'll probably see a mixture of youth and experience. I think it'll either be a 4 and a 4 or a 3 and a 3. But it's interesting because I'm looking at comments and sort of listening to what you guys both say. And it seems we're all pretty much on the same page. So in that respect, I'd like to hope that the club are, I think for me, I'd agree a backup goalkeeper. I've been throwing Sophie Bagley's name out probably since Christmas, similar to Alana Kennedy. I think another one as well, Grace Maloney's not a bad keeper at Reading. Somebody to really push Mary. I think definitely one fullback. I think we'll probably see either one of Harris or Smith leave. So we'll need to replace potentially one of them. 2 centre halves as well. I think, like you talked about, Anthony, if Amy does go, she's out of contract, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. Potentially a couple in there as well. Defensive midfielder, again, Alana's name I've thrown out there. Probably say a winger as well. I just think Leah's obviously been unlucky recently with injuries, which has kind of left us with Hansen, which is fine. Sometimes we've had to play Tooney wide. So again, it's just options. I know Fuso can play sort of in the wider positions as well. And then definitely 2 forwards for me. I think the 2 forwards have to be at least a minimum the quality of Alessia, because I think if they're not her standard as a minimum, it's going to be another big battle again in terms of getting goals. So I think for me, at least 8, but then it comes to the sort of the gelling of the team, doesn't it? We saw Aston Villa in the summer sign, was it 10, maybe 11, possibly 12 players? They had a big turnover of players. And I think it's getting them to click initially as well, which could be a little bit of a challenge for whoever comes in to manage us. Simply based on the fact that pretty much if we call it 8 that do come in, you probably see a good 6 of those, maybe 5 in the starting 11 in terms of looking at improvements. So it's going to be an interesting summer, but a big summer for me. And I know further up, I think Vic's put a shopping list there, and Bo Rees, Alana Kennedy, Wrighton, Navarro, Beth England, which, to be fair, I think if that was bang on and that happened, we'd be pretty content with that as fans. I think I certainly would be, Whether it's possible is another thing, but that's why I think for me it's going to be a mixture of sort of, experience and youth. I think the youth come cheap, and we know that the club's not chucking money at it. And I think the experience, whether we can get some as part of the LJ deal or whether we can, use that money as long as it's all reinvested, then, it's one of them things where I think for me it's going to be a very, very interesting summer. There's another one there, Laura Presnikar again. Germany, I think anybody that's watched the German league, I'm quite a big fan of the German league. I don't know if any of you lads sort of follow that closely. I know Natalie follows Spain and other viewers follow Italy as well. Another thing Vic's saying there again from sort of the Chelsea deal. I know there was talk the other day of Jess Carter. For me, it was a no, just simply on based on what I'd seen at Chelsea and Birmingham. Obviously can play centre half and CDM, but I think for me you need somebody at Haley's level as good as, and I think Alana Kennedy for me would be better than Carter. But just before we wrap it then, I'll come to you, Ben. With obviously chatting transfers and positions, do you think then, obviously there was, like I said, there was talk of a couple, 2, maybe 3 already done by Casey. Do you think that sort of the recruitment plans may go out the window slightly, obviously with the new manager coming in? And what I mean by that is, like I say, obviously those that were wrapped up are already be coming in. But do you think maybe, let's say she had a list, for example, and maybe the club have that list and are possibly working to that. Do you think that changes a lot with the new manager, if at all? Or, because obviously they'll want to implement sort of their own targets. So how do you sort of see that going then, recruitment-wise?
I think the club would have worked on whatever case is given them.
Yeah.
List of players. They probably would have worked off that or started to work off that right now. As of now, unless we don't know about it, we ain't got a manager at the minute. So yeah, I'm sure they'll be working off that list that Casey gave them. Yeah. I'm sure there should be some scouts around as well. I'm pretty sure United have at least 1 or 2 scouts around. Yeah. Who they could take advice off as well. But I think you could probably once you get a manager in and if the window's still open and what have you, it could be adapted a little bit, that list. The manager might go, well, listen, I've heard this player from such and such a club is available, even if it's for a little bit of a fee, or I've heard this player's out of contract, still without a club. I fancy this player to come in. and I think they'll do a job. So he'll probably be adapted a little bit depending on when we get this new manager in, which I'm sure it will be before the window ends. You know what I mean? Hopefully, fingers crossed. So I think it'll be adaptable, mate. It'll be adaptable. He'll probably say, "Yeah, I think I've done what I can work with what he brought in." I agree with that, but I would also like these 2 or 3 if we can. You know, so it all depends on time, mate. It's that crucial word, time. Or when is the manager coming in? Have we got anybody lined up? Have we interviewed anyone yet for the managerial role? You know, so it's all about that keyword time for me. We've got enough time, and I think yes, you'll probably see that list being adapted a little bit by the new manager, who might want to bring 1 or 2 of his or her own players in that they've got in the back of their heads. But yeah, I think it's going to be adaptable, but all on time, pal. All on time.
Yeah. I'm going to wrap up the show with a question for you, Anthony, because I know this was something me and Ben covered a couple of weeks ago. We were sort of talking off the pitch. We were saying if a new manager comes in, do you think they maybe work with existing staff, bring their own in, or a mixture? So I'm sort of talking now about strengthening off the pitch. Where do you see that maybe going? So like I say, let's say we'll use next week for an example. Let's say new manager arrives next week. Do you think then that they'd maybe, like I say, mix up staff or keep existing, or is there any sort of personal thoughts that you want to see or maybe want to change perhaps?
It all depends really, don't it? Each manager has their own thoughts. They could have their own staff and they might want to have a complete overhaul. I think I would say that's unlikely. I would say there'd be a mixture. I think the assistant manager we got, Martin Ho, I'd like to think he would stay on. Obviously, the manager, whoever comes in, will have words with him. So I think the assistant manager-wise, unless he wants to bring his own right-hand man or woman, as we know, with the men's game, there's a lot of that. You leave a club, you bring you a bit like someone like Harry Redknapp bringing Joe Jordan quite a bit, or stuff like that. Do we need? I don't know who does, like John Fry says that. I don't know who does the set pieces.
Set pieces, I believe, is Ian Wilcock, goalkeeper coach. He works with like set plays, so corners, free kicks, and obviously goalkeeper. Well, so maybe a specialist in that.
Okay, well, going on by that, then I think. No offence to Wilcock, but I think you just have to see some of our defending from set pieces and some of our free kicks and that and routines, and I feel like we need someone at a bit higher standard than him, someone that's going to get us to improve our final ball and defending even. It's a hard one because you look at the men as well, and even the men were awful at defending set pieces. So
yeah, I think it was interesting because I know Benny, you mentioned, didn't you, the other day? Was it you mentioned bringing in Rennie Meulenstein, didn't you? And obviously we sort of talked about Anthony. He had a brief stint, didn't he, down at Bristol City, as somebody that's like that top level coach. And it's some. I mean, do you think maybe he may come in and sort of? I mean, obviously he's not a sort of specialist defensive coach, but he maybe might come in with a few ideas that could work alongside sort of Martin and a new manager, where it may mean that Ian can go back to just solely focusing on goalkeeping. Do you think that could maybe be an option, or would you maybe be against that, being in mind that he's not sort of had too much experience in the women's game?
Possibly, like, as long as you've got the right balance of experience in the women's game. And that we know Rennie, he obviously has the Man United DNA in him, so he knows the Man United way, which is a big help. We don't want to, like, the manager comes in, we don't want to totally rip out the heart of. We want to have people, or at least 2 or 3, that do do know the Man United way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's a mixture we need. I think he has his trust in men, women, or she has her trust in men and women that she'll knows improve. But then I think also that obviously he'll meet with the staff or she'll meet with the staff and then decide, like, I want to keep you on, and it's like that, isn't it? So there is a lot to sort out this summer. I just hope United being United don't faff about and keep us waiting too long.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm just going to briefly answer Vic's comment there about keeper from the men's game. Ian did come from the men's game. I know he was at Bury. I'm sure before Bury, he was at MK Dons or maybe Bolton. So Ian did work in the men's game, just to sort of answer that. I'm going to wrap it there, guys. So thank you, Anthony, as always, for joining me. And Benny, it's good to see you back. Like I said, I think this is your second show. I remember you doing one at the very start of my Tuesdays. So, massively thankful that you've jumped on and given up your Tuesday night. Thank you to everybody as well for tuning in. And it's good to see everybody again in the comments. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, All for United WFC, please do so. Get those likes in. Thursday is our next show. John Foster and Natalie are back, and they're joined by Susie Rack, who is a writer at The Guardian. So they'll be coming in. They'll be talking mainly transfers, and sort of getting Susie's overall thoughts on, like similar to what we've kind of discussed, strengthening the team. And who knows, she may have heard something. Hopefully, she might be able to give us a rumour, so to speak. You never know in women's football because they keep everything under wraps. Friday, John Foster's back fan forum. So again, anybody we've got spaces coming up in the next couple of weeks for people to jump on there. Anybody that wants to come on there, even if you're not a Man United women's fan, basically that works as you come on and you just chat women's football, and everybody gets sort of a 10-minute slot to talk. And then Saturday, obviously, Ben, me and you are back, aren't we?
We are,
mate. Saturday Night Live, 8 p.m. Sunday, we're going to be out on location, so we're going to bring you a live show on Sunday as a special. That will be probably 30, 45 minutes roughly. So again, that will be our 6th show this week. So plenty of content to catch up on. And yeah, that's the rest of the week. That will be pinned as well. Schedule will go out tomorrow. So cheers, boys, and we'll catch you all very soon.
No worries. Thank you.